WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's Biunno.
CARLEE Russell, after admitting to lying about her kidnapping and seeing a toddler on the side of I-459, expected to face charges in Alabama. A press conference called this afternoon by authorities who will announce specifics on the legal process going forward. Hello there to you folks. JB here with you live in the Stream Center, awaiting the feeds coming up here on my touchscreen and just keeping an eye here on the monitor, actually on the other side of the Stream Center, just keeping an eye on when exactly we get the podium shot for the press conference that has been called for 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central. We're going to spend a good amount of time taking your comments because by now, if you're here on this live stream now, especially in the YouTube live comment section, hello YouTube. If you've been with us here on YouTube waiting for this live stream to begin, chances are you're very familiar with the CARLEE Russell story. In the last couple of weeks, of course, that story becoming national and really international news as well. A woman who pulled off on the side of the road, called 911 claiming to see a toddler vanishing for a period of 49 hours in central Alabama, reappears at her parents' house that Saturday night, and then days later admits that there was never a kidnapping or an abduction, as she had told police initially in her initial statement, and also, too, that there was never a toddler on the side of Interstate 459 in Hoover, Alabama. It was all a made-up story. As to why exactly it was made up, that really remains the question. But as people know, breaking the law is breaking the law. So if the law was broken in Alabama, you would expect charges to be filed. And that is, of course, what has been playing, going on behind the scenes with the district attorney there in central Alabama, with authorities determining what is the appropriate course of action in regards to CARLEE Russell. So here in the Stream Center, waiting for the feeds to actually become available. What happens over the course of the coming really 15, 20 minutes is camera crews will be permitted inside the building where this press conference will be taking place. They'll turn on their cameras, they'll distribute. It becomes available here on my touchscreen. We tap it, and then, of course, we're live to bring you that press conference in high definition, live across all platforms. So saying hello to our audience joining us. And what I'd like to do is, because as I noted at the beginning of this live stream, if you're here now in our comment section, chances are you are very familiar with this story. And you might have been one of the people who shared out news of CARLEE Russell's disappearance, hoping that it would be a happy ending and not a controversial one. But here we have the controversy with this story. And what I'd like to do is we're going to do a poll question. And the poll is going to be simple. If charges are to be filed against CARLEE Russell, do you agree with the decision? It's that simple. Because by now, I'm sure a lot of folks are just very up to speed on this story and educated enough to have an opinion on this matter. So we're going to ask that exclusively on YouTube Live in the WFLA YouTube Live comment section. You should see that poll animate on your screen. And what I'll do is I'll start to look out for your hashtag HeyJB questions and comments. If it's your first time on stream, welcome. Welcome into WFLA Now. What we're going to do is just quickly explain how it works. If you don't want your comment to be spotlighted and featured on screen, that's totally okay. You're welcome here. We just ask that you don't use our hashtag system. You see underneath my name here on the left side of your screen, it says hashtag HeyJB. And you'll see it here in the bug as well, hashtag HeyJB. If you use that hashtag, you're basically saying, hey, JB, please feature my comment. It'll have your name, your profile picture animated on screen. But again, if you don't want your comment to be featured, just don't use the hashtag. You can continue to comment back and forth with your fellow audience members. So let's, for the first time, look in and this is very interesting. And I think this poll could have been more specific, I'm sure. But Sarah says hashtag HeyJB. I voted no because it depends on what the charges are. This is a very, very smart response here from Sarah, because are they going to be misdemeanor charges? Are there any felony charges that could be possible? Fox News reported in talking to the assistant DA, and I'll read this from Fox News, their website. It says that according to Jefferson County Chief Assistant District Attorney Lane Tolbert, police are seeking to charge Russell with false reporting to law enforcement authorities and falsely reporting an incident, both of which are misdemeanors and carry a maximum punishment of 1 year in jail. I don't like too often putting out polls that, at this stage in the story especially, there's a legal process that has to play out here. You are innocent until you're proven guilty. And should CARLEE Russell face charges, we don't know if she's going to, what plea she would enter, if she would plead guilty, try to, come to a deal with the district attorney's office, or whether or not a deal would be offered, or if she would plead not guilty for, there's a couple of different reasons why she would plead not guilty, but that, of course, would lead to her day in court. So back to Sarah's comment, it really does depend on what the charges are. But for what it's worth, we put it out there. Just if she is to be charged, regardless of what the charges are, do you agree with the decision to proceed with charges? The idea here is if she, in fact, and again, based on her statement that she provided to authorities in the press conference that we carried earlier this week, if she did have this elaborate plan to make this up for whatever reason, was it to receive attention, social media fame? What the reason could have been still eludes us, or what the reason is still eludes us. But if she did come up with this elaborate plan, do you believe if she broke the law, should she face charges? I mean, that's really what this question mostly boils down to. And it's going to be hard to find too many people in our comment section who are going to say, yeah, she broke the law, but I think that we should, cut her some slack. Or people, I think, mostly agree. I'm speaking for you, our commenters. People mostly agree that the law applies to everybody. And now we have talked about whether or not there's a mental health component to this case. That has sparked an emotional reaction for people in our comment section. People saying, look, she might have had a sudden mental health breakdown, or other commenters have said mental health can't be a scapegoat when the law is inconveniently not in your favor. So that the mental health component to this case is emotional for a lot of people and does prompt a response one way or the other, usually from a lot of people in my coverage of the story and reading through thousands of comments. But that's where we are with this particular story. What are the charges going to be, and how are things going to proceed going forward? She has not been arrested as of this hour, just a heads up. And also, too, really quickly, I made a lot of calls on this story yesterday. And as I was making calls, the expectation was this press conference was going to be taking place Thursday, July 27th. But there was a jurisdictional matter that needed to get cleared up. That's something I can confidently report. It was a jurisdictional matter that had to get cleared up, which is the reason why it didn't get held yesterday as originally intended, and why this press conference is being held this Friday, July 28th, 2023. So that jurisdictional matter, I've heard a couple of things. I don't want to get much into specifics. It'll be water under the bridge really in an hour from now. But yes, that was the reason why the press conference was not held yesterday. All right, reading through some of your comments. Let me quickly remind our audience, and I'm going to spotlight some more comments on screen. We are now 15 minutes away, 15 minutes from that press conference getting underway in Jefferson County, Alabama. Again, the press conference where we're expected to hear from authorities on the charges that are filed. That is, again, according to reports and also to a lot of phone calls that I've been making, charges are expected at this press conference. What those charges are, look, we had the Fox News report. We read that out. Again, 2 misdemeanor charges potentially on the table that could lead to a maximum punishment of a year in prison. All right, reading through some of your comments. Jeff, yeah, I think a lot of people feel the same way as Jeff. Hashtag KJB. What is the purpose of having laws if they're not enforced? If there are laws that were broken and the person admits that they are at fault, isn't the expectation that there is going to be charges filed? If you do not proceed with charges, you are opening up a massive can of worms, are you not, for copycat behavior in other cities, other states across the country? If CARLEE Russell got away with it, what makes me any different? Could be the line of thinking for somebody else. Taylor wants to know, can the parents be charged with anything? The parents can be charged if they are found to have committed a crime. But if you go back to the most recent press conference earlier this week, again, talking about the parents, they do not find, as of this, at that stage in the investigation, it did not seem as if they planned on pursuing the parents based on where the investigation stood at that time. So this is expected to be focused on CARLEE Russell. Let's see here. We're going to have to relaunch for Facebook Live here momentarily. And I just want to send a note here to our team. About where the camera crews might be getting let into the building where this press conference is going to be taking place a little bit late, because usually by now, 15 minutes or now 12 minutes out, usually by now we have a feed. We have multiple avenues to get this feed. Different camera crews that have indicated that they will be feeding back a signal, and we will be able to access those feeds here in the Stream Center. But at this time, no feeds have been fired up just yet. So if you're looking for that podium shot, you're looking for where this press conference is going to be taking place, don't go anywhere. We'll have it in the coming minutes. I keep looking this way to check for those feeds here again in the WFLA Now Stream Center. All right, some other comments. You can see they're scrolling on my screen here. Robin James, this is really a big question that persists in our comment section. Any details on an accomplice? Let's point this out. We still do not know where CARLEE Russell went for 49 hours. Did she go to someone's house? Did she go to a local movie theater? Did she go to a local business and just find a closet somewhere? Was she in the woods? All of these different ideas as to where she could have been over those 49 hours, we just don't know. But people want to know, was there somebody who knowingly took her in while the search was ongoing, and did that person understand that there was this massive search underway, and did that person have anything to do with concealing where she might have been? Look, There has been zero details. I want to emphasize this. There's been zero information provided on if anybody else helped CARLEE Russell. She said that she acted alone in her statement. Now, people are going to point to that statement and say, how do we believe somebody who lied on a 911 call and lied to police? How do we believe that? Well, I think that's a very fair point. But for what it's worth, FWIW is something I use in texts all the time. FWIW, for what it's worth, CARLEE says that she acted alone. But where she was for those 49 hours is a major question. All right. And just like that, as promised, here we have the very first shot coming up. We expect to get multiple press conference feeds. But really, it's all going to... Oh, and look. See? Now we'll hit the touchscreen again. I guess the camera crews were all let in at the same time. Because there we have the shot. And both are looking pretty crystal clear. Guys, take your pick. You like A? Or you like B? It won't really matter. We're going to be listening in for mic checks. But we're going to take the signal with the highest quality. It's something, of course, that is very important to you, our audience, to get a feed that is reliable and with a steady signal and is HD. And, of course, that's important to us as well for distribution purposes. But, yes, that is a current look at the podium as it's been set up. And we'll, as soon as they start doing mic checks, we will be listening in for those mic checks to make sure that audio is coming through crystal clear. In the meantime, let's go back to some of the questions and comments that are coming in. There are some really, unfortunately, look, I can't put up some of these comments. They have hashtag HAB, but they are, mean. They're mean. I know the people are angry and they're frustrated because they felt like they were deceived and they feel like, can't blame anybody for feeling like this sets a very bad precedent as far as a woman who said that she was missing, said that she was abducted, kidnapped, if you will, said that she saw a toddler on the side of the road and then saying that she acted alone in misinforming authorities. I understand that people are very upset, very frustrated. Still, I can see it in your comments. Again, comments that are, I just can't put up on screen. But we will now see how the legal process will play out. And if CARLEE Russell is, according to authorities, said to have committed a crime, then will they proceed with charges to hold her accountable? Let's remind our audience, we've covered a lot of stories, and there's a few big ones that we've covered here on stream, where just because you do the wrong thing doesn't mean you committed a crime. Doing the wrong thing and committing a crime, violating the law, they're different things. You can do something ethically that's really messed up and not break any laws and not have to face legal consequences. So let's remember, but according to the assistant DA, and look, just based on logic of the concept of filing a false police report, the concept is, and the belief is, that CARLEE Russell broke at least one law in lying to investigators, lying to police about being kidnapped, and starting this massive 49-hour search for her in central Alabama and beyond. Folks, what we have to do now is we have to reset. We are currently live. Let's see how many people are joining us. We're live right now on WFLA.com, the WFLA app, WFLA.com for north of 15,000 people. People filing in. What we will do is we are going to take a 60-second break to launch on Facebook Live and other platforms so that people continue to file in here. People can continue to file in here and join us for, again, the press conference that should be beginning in about 5 minutes' time. If you're looking for the press conference, you found it. We're going to, of course, I'm going to be quiet. We're going to go to it full screen here as soon as it begins, and that starts next here on WFLA Now. Back in 60 seconds.
WFLA Now will begin momentarily. WFLA Now will begin momentarily. Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JB Biunno.
CARLEE Russell, the woman who admitted to lying about her own kidnapping and lying about seeing a toddler on the side of I-459, expected to face charges today in Alabama. A press conference called this afternoon by authorities. That press conference is expected to begin any moment here on WFLA Now. Hello there, folks. JB here with you live. Now across all platforms here from the WFLA Now Stream Center. Let's hit the touchscreen. Let's take you out there to Alabama and show you the podium. This press conference has been called for 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, and we'll, of course, be listening in. What we're going to do is we're going to continue to take some questions and comments out of our Facebook Live, YouTube Live comment sections, and then at 2 o'clock, when the press conference actually, in fact, begins, of course, I will be quiet. We will be listening in, hearing what the latest is on the CARLEE Russell investigation. But per reports coming out of Alabama and beyond, charges are expected. If you believe the Fox News report, those charges are going to be 2 misdemeanor charges with a maximum penalty of 1 year behind bars. So you can see various members of the media, they are getting ready for that press conference when it does, in fact, begin at 2 o'clock Eastern, 1 o'clock Central, which is approximately 2.5 minutes from now. So here in the Stream Center, folks, what we'll be doing is reviewing some of your questions, some of your comments. We did have a question asked via a YouTube question that was put out, and we asked if charges are to be filed against CARLEE Russell. Do you agree with the decision? We had Sarah who chimed in with a really smart sort of response, saying that she voted no simply because she doesn't know what the charges are. It depends on what the charges are. But for what it's worth, again, an unscientific social media poll, more than 94% of people expect there to be charges filed here today. And so, again, there's the press conference. We have another feed, a backup feed, if you will, from another camera crew in the building. Of course, various members of the media that have all gathered here today for the Hoover Police press conference. I think we're expected to hear from the DAs. Let's listen in.
All good? All good. All right, 2-minute warning. 2 minutes.
All right, and there you hear the 2-minute warning. So again, JB here within the Stream Center, folks. The press conference will be starting here momentarily. After the... And here's some chatter there with some of the reporters in the room who are, of course, I'm sure expecting charges themselves as far as this press conference. All signs are pointing to that as far as what Hoover Police and the DA's office will be sharing. So again, the press conference is about to begin in about, we'll call it 60, 90 seconds now. After the press conference is done, what we will be doing is spending some time with you on stream and breaking down what we have learned and what we still don't know. We might get an investigative update on this case, whether or not a second statement has been provided, whether or not CARLEE Russell has actually had that second interview with detectives. It might be more than charges, but we really don't know. We're about to find out in a matter of moments here. We'll go now live full screen. We'll be listening in. And again, after the press conference concludes, we'll be getting your reaction out of the Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter comment sections with hashtag AJB. So after the press conference is done, stick around. And again, you're watching here live from the Hoover Police Department in Central Alabama, live across all platforms here on WFLA Now.
Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Frank and Pam Bearfield Training Center. I'm Captain Keith Sescaliba with the Hoover Police Department, and we're here today to provide you with the latest update in the CARLEE Russell investigation. Joining me at the podium today will be Police Chief Nick Durzis, followed by Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall. Chief Durzis will make a prepared statement. After Chief Durzis' statement is over with, Attorney General Marshall will also offer a few comments. Once that is completed, both gentlemen will return to the podium, and you guys will have an opportunity to ask questions. With that, I will turn it over to Chief Durzis.
Thank you, Captain. Good afternoon. Earlier today, Hoover Police detectives obtained warrants for the arrest of CARLEE Russell through the Hoover Municipal Court for her actions related to faking her kidnapping and subsequently making false statements to detectives as they investigated this case. Her decisions that night created panic and alarm for the citizens of our city and even across the nation as the concern grew that a kidnapper was on the loose using a small child as bait. Numerous law enforcement agencies, both local and federal, began working tirelessly not only to bring CARLEE home to her family, but locate a kidnapper that we know now never existed. Many private citizens volunteered their time and energy into looking for a potential kidnapping victim that we know now was never in any danger. This story opened wounds for families whose loved ones really were victims of kidnappings, some of which even helped organize searches in hopes they could find CARLEE's alive so that her family would not experience the pain and suffering that they felt when their loved ones never returned home. As we know, actions can have consequences, and that's why we're here today. This afternoon, CARLEE Russell, with the assistance of her attorney, turned herself into the Hoover City Jail, where she was arrested for the following charges: false reporting to law enforcement authorities, a Class A misdemeanor, $1,000 bond; falsely reporting an incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond. Each of these charges carry up to a year in jail and potential fine of $6,000 upon conviction. Ms. Russell was released from jail after posting bond. We initially presented this case to District Attorney Lanice Washington, who agreed to handle prosecution through district court. After consulting with the Circuit Court of Jefferson County Bessemer Division, the case was referred back to municipal court for charging because the only applicable charges were misdemeanors. Judging from the amount of phone calls and emails that we've received from people all over the country, I know many are shocked and appalled that Ms. Russell is only being charged with 2 misdemeanors, despite all the panic and disruption her actions caused. Let me assure you, I too share the same frustration, but existing laws only allow the charges that were filed to be filed. I can tell you that I will be contacting our state legislatures on behalf of law enforcement in Montgomery and asking them to look at this law applied to these facts and urge them to add an enhancement to current legislation when somebody falsely reports kidnapping or another violent crime. Because of the attention this case has garnered, we've requested Attorney General Steve Marshall's office adopt this case, and they've agreed to do so. The Hoover Police Department wants to thank everyone that assisted us from the beginning and continues to assist us in this case as we work its way through the criminal justice system. Joining me at the podium today is State of Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall.
Thank you, Chief. Let me begin by commending Hoover Police Department Chief Durzis for his leadership in this investigation. Obviously, this captured many's attention as a result of not only the allegations themselves, but also the concern about a possible victim and being able to return her home. The work that was done by the Hoover Police Department was monumental in its lift, and the results of that work you are seeing come to fruition today with the charges that have been levied. I also want to commend the many other men and women of both state and federal law enforcement for their work collaboratively with the Hoover Police Department in assisting in this investigation. Chief, I appreciate the opportunity to be able to partner with you in this prosecution. We will dedicate a team to be able to help the city of Hoover in handling these 2 individual charges and look forward to bringing this case to fruition. One thing I would add is that we don't see this as a victimless crime. There are significant hours spent, resources expended as a result of this investigation, and not only that, but the many men and women who are civilians that wore those yellow vests on a hot afternoon and evening looking for someone they thought was abducted, trying to be of assistance. We intend to fully prosecute this case and look forward to working with the Hoover Police Department moving forward. We also would tell you that we will continue to monitor this investigation to determine whether or not there are any additional charges that need to be brought, and we'll evaluate those as the facts are presented.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, we'll open the floor to questions. If you'll please raise your hand and identify yourself and your affiliation when I call on you. Dave.
Yeah, David Lamb, CBS 42. This question for Mr. Attorney General. What is it about this case that made it rise to the level to where it was a case that you wanted to take on and be involved in?
We handle cases across the state. We have jurisdiction throughout for both misdemeanors and felonies, and when Chief Durgis asked for our assistance, we were more than happy to be able to assist.
Is it common for you all to be involved in misdemeanors like a case like this?
It's not uncommon.
Right here.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610, 100.1 FM, Summit Media. Chief, this question is for you.
Yes.
What time was CARLEE arrested today with her attorney, and has she made bail?
She has. She was processed in our facility within the past hour.
Do you expect any charges to be forthcoming with her parents, or is this just all on CARLEE at this point?
At this point, and again, I think anything is, all as the Attorney General said, their team will also be searching through our files, and we'll find out what they say.
Carol.
Carol Robinson with AL.com. Have you, since we spoke last in the press conference, been able to retrace where she was during the 49 hours she was missing, and have you determined if she was with anyone else during that time?
We have not found anything out on either one of your two questions.
Right here.
Valerie Bell, ABC 3340 News. Has there been any decision about a possible civil suit against CARLEE and or her family? Also, what impact would this have on Hoover Police Department filing a suit, have on the criminal case as well?
Yeah, we have not discussed that. Of course, we talked about the hours of overtime and all the significant resources that we used, and we'll certainly be talking to the Attorney General's office about possibly getting some of those funds returned to us.
Please.
Lisa Crane, WBTN 13. In an earlier press conference, you outlined some items she had taken from her employer. Any potential theft charges for that?
Those would have taken place in another jurisdiction, so we would not have charges ourselves.
Ashni Robinson, WBRC. Chief, do you mind repeating those charges and fines one more time for us?
Sure. False reporting to law enforcement authorities, Class A misdemeanor with $1,000 bond. Falsely reporting an incident, a Class A misdemeanor with a $1,000 bond.
Chief, I know you mentioned this the last time we were together. Just wondering if you have any update on an idea of the cost that the Hoover Police Department expended in those 48, 49 hours CARLEE Russell was missing. And one final question, do you at this point have any more information if CARLEE Russell acted alone or anyone helped her?
Yeah, we have not finished, obviously, the 49 hours. We've been certainly busy since her return, so I still don't have a total on that, and we don't have any idea where CARLEE Russell was 49 hours.
Right here.
Keith Mims, WAGG 610. Chief, let me ask you this. Going forward, there's been a lot of concern in the community as per young black and brown females being reported missing. Would Hoover and other agencies have the same fervor going forward as they did with the case with CARLEE Russell?
Absolutely. This, as I said initially, our focus was bringing CARLEE home when she got home. And then our focus has been to find out if there was a kidnapping. We find out there's not. We work every case like all other law enforcement does, so I don't have any concern anywhere that would be an issue.
And can I echo what Chief said? I've been in law enforcement for 27 years.
Yes, sir.
No law enforcement throughout this state. I've never seen anybody interested in the color of your skin in investigating a criminal case. And I expect, regardless of your gender, your race, when that report is filed, that Alabama law enforcement is going to do its job.
Right here.
Valerie Bell, ABC 3340. What was her emotional state when she arrived to the jail today, and is she seeking any help at this point in time?
I was not there, so I really can't tell you exactly, and I really don't know anything else.
All right, last question.
Ashni Robinson, WBRC. Chief, what are next steps after this? What is going to happen next?
Well, right now, the Attorney General's office attorneys will start dealing with our detectives and going through case files and preparing prosecution, I presume.
Thank you guys very much.
Will y'all be releasing a mugshot?
Yes, we will momentarily.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Breaking news on WFLA Now. Here's JV Biunno.
See y'all later.
CARLEE Russell turns herself in on misdemeanor charges after an arrest warrant is obtained in Alabama. And now the legal process will play forward, as of course, so many call for her to be held responsible for allegedly making up a story to law enforcement. Hello, folks. JB here with you live on WFLA Now, jotting down a lot of notes here after this press conference, and we're going to get to your reaction. This part of our live stream is now really focused on your reaction, and that's why we have our hashtag system. You can use hashtag HeyJB if you want your opinion to be heard. Do you agree with law enforcement? Do you agree with what was stated? The 2 misdemeanor charges related to false reporting of an incident. As far as your knowledge of the CARLEE Russell story, do you agree with how the legal process is playing out in the state of Alabama? Based on our conversation ahead of this press conference, I think it's pretty fair to say that a lot of our commenters are going to agree with almost every word, if not every word, of what Chief Durbus had to say there at the press conference with the Hoover Police Department. Perhaps one of the most interesting parts of this press conference that I circled here in my notes is the police chief indicating that he is going to be communicating with legislators in Alabama about changing the law potentially to ensure that there are to ensure that they're doing everything they can to discourage this type of behavior. In essence, lying to law enforcement, making up a story, and wasting all of these resources on an investigation that should have never taken place. That, to me, was really highlights the frustration here from the Hoover Police Department that not only are they proceeding with filing charges, but they want to change the law in Alabama after the CARLEE Russell investigation to, again, make sure that similar acts don't occur in the future. The charges would come with a maximum penalty of a year behind bars, whether or not that is downgraded to either probation or community service or whatever it might be. It all depends on whether or not she pleads guilty, not guilty, and how the legal process will play out, whether or not there will be a plea deal that is reached. And since we have the knowledge, of course, that CARLEE Russell provided the statement where she admitted to wrongdoing, you would think that her attorney is going to, at the very minimum, explore reaching a deal if provided with the opportunity for a deal with the district attorney's office. But we do not know if that is going to be taking place in the weeks and months ahead. CARLEE Russell did turn herself in, and she was released on bail. So she was booked. I have been looking on the website waiting for a mugshot. I have not yet seen a mugshot. Let's see if anyone else has, any of the other reporters that I follow, if they have a mugshot yet. Because, look, if you are booked and processed, you get a mugshot. That's just how it goes. And we haven't seen CARLEE Russell at all. Really, we haven't seen her outside of these pictures. We have not seen her since this entire ordeal began. So this would be our first look at CARLEE Russell since this all unfolded from a missing persons investigation to the hoax heard around the world, if you will. I have not yet seen a mugshot. You did hear, I'm very appreciative to the reporter at the end of the press conference who asked, will a mugshot be posted? They did say yes. It would be very surprising if they didn't. It's standard for anyone who's booked in charge to have their mugshot released to the public. That's pretty much standard protocol any way you look at it. So I'm grateful that they clarified, and they did say it was going to be released shortly, but that has not yet been released. The booking occurring in the last hour or so. We're live on WFLA.com. We're live on the WFLA app. We're live on Facebook Live and YouTube Live as well. JB here with you in the Stream Center, and we'll continue to process this as far as your reaction and talk about what is going to be happening going forward. Let's go to the comment section as we wait for the mugshot to be posted. And people, of course, it's going to be public record, so people will have the opportunity to see CARLEE Russell, with their own eyes, in light of what has transpired. And look, I know from covering stories when there's a high-profile arrest, this mugshot is going to be thoroughly analyzed by the social media audience. People are going to really, you're going to see the face of the person that we've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. And people will instantaneously, within milliseconds, form an opinion based on seeing that mugshot. So that mugshot, when it is released, we'll have it for you here on stream. In the Alabama jail system, I have not yet seen that mugshot posted. When it is, in fact, posted, I'll bring it up here live on stream. So we'll stay here with you live for a bit longer. So let's go here to the comments. If you use hashtag KJB, I can animate your comment on screen. If you don't want your comment to be animated, just don't use the hashtag. Lori says, I can't believe they still can't figure out where she was the whole time. That question was asked about the 49 hours. People, the reporters in the room asked again, where was CARLEE? Have investigators, now we have charges filed, have they determined where she went when she vanished off the side of the interstate that night? Was she hiding out in the woods? Did she go somewhere? There was Google searches for a bus ticket to Nashville. I think it's fair to say, it's just fair to say that if she had purchased a bus ticket and had made it all the way up to Nashville, it's pretty fair to say that investigators likely at this stage would have found out about it. It's more likely that she stayed local, but it has to be stated that was something that was in her Google search history, according to investigators. Let's see here. Yeah, my team is getting a hold of me. We're all, waiting for this mugshot to be released when it's posted publicly. I don't have any back channels, and nor should anyone. When it's posted as public record, it should be available to every one of us at the same time. So as of right now, there is no mugshot posted. So yes. Mrs. East, we can look her mugshot up, but it hasn't been posted yet. Again, she was just processed in the last hour or so. Again, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, no matter where you're watching from right now, you can comment along. In fact, let me reset. Yeah, so Facebook comments are pumping in. YouTube Live comments are pumping in as well into the Stream Center. CMC Funk, I'm glad that this question is asked, and you heard it addressed as far as the race component in the press conference. All missing people should be given exposure, and I think people are frustrated by missing persons cases. Some people believe that there's an uneven playing field out there when it comes to missing persons cases. And CARLEE Russell got a tremendous amount of exposure. It's a story that just that took off. One of the reasons why was because the headline was certainly attention-grabbing to people. Here's a woman who claims to see a toddler on the side of the road and stops, calls 911, and according to the story, was doing the right thing. Like any one of us, you could almost envision driving, late at night, seeing a toddler, stopping your car, calling 911, my goodness, doing everything you could to help that person. And then for that person to vanish, there was a mystery component to this story that got a lot of attention. And people are asking this question about missing persons cases in the United States. Missing persons cases should be treated equally. They really should. And And CARLEE Russell got a lot of attention. I don't believe that her making up the story is going to deter the missing person case advocates that are out there. There's just such a tremendous amount of goodwill on social media. But I do know that there have been a lot of people who have been very, very frustrated to see a missing black woman get a tremendous amount of national media exposure, and for all of it to be for naught, for all of it to be for a hoax. People who have expressed frustration. And I think a lot of that frustration, of course, people have a right to be frustrated with this story. But CMC Funk brings up a good question. It was hinted at in the press conference as well. We try to cover as many missing persons cases on stream. I as a journalist, try to cover as many missing persons cases as possible. I'm looking here at our feeds. Yeah, just awaiting again the mugshot being posted. It has not yet been posted. So Monkey asks a good question. #KJB mental health issue, a cry for help, might be her attorney defense. Yes, but you have to prove these things. We talked about this on the previous live stream. If your defense is a mental health issue, you can't just say mental health and investigators leave you alone. Oh, she has a mental health problem. We can't charge her. That's not how it works. You have to demonstrate and prove that you have a mental health issue. And so that is not this ironclad defense. It's not right to people who actually do suffer from mental illness for this just to be automatically introduced into the legal defense just because it might, get you out of jail time or community service or a financial penalty of some kind. Could that be a strategy for the defense and the attorney, Emory Anthony? I'm sure that they're going to explore every option on the table, but I don't think any attorney should make up a mental health issue. I'm not saying that CARLEE Russell did suffer from a mental health issue. I'm not saying that she didn't. We don't know. We haven't heard from her. We've only really heard from her parents, and we've only heard the statement that was issued through her attorney. We do not know if she had a mental health issue of some kind or if a mental health breakdown or something in the last several weeks, last several months. We have to keep an open mind. We don't know what her life was like in these last few days, these last few weeks, these last few months. If something tragic happened or if her mental health took a turn for the worse. We have to be open-minded, but we also have to be open-minded in the sense that it can't be scapegoated. Mental health cannot be the scapegoat and just the easy way out to introduce that into your defense just to establish a plea of not guilty. You have to prove, as someone who discusses mental health on live streams and quite a bit, you have to demonstrate that just like if you had a broken leg, you need to demonstrate that you have a mental health issue. Just because mental health isn't seen like a broken leg, you can't visibly see a mental health issue unless it's severe, doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be proven. It still has to be proven that you did suffer from. And of course, all right, so if she did have a mental health episode, then she will have to be evaluated. A psychologist, a psychiatrist will have to examine her and interview her, and it'll have to be demonstrated. EMC wants to know, can you respond why most of your viewers are concerned with her natural hair? Well, because a lot of the pictures that you see here on your screen are of her wearing a wig. And the wig was found on the side of the interstate. So her appearance, EMC, is very much key to this case, because there, if you're wearing a hairpiece versus when you're not wearing a wig, your appearance could be dramatically different. It can be dramatically different. And when the search was at its peak, the parents and I think friends as well were putting out a lot of the images that were being shared were of her wearing a wig, and that if her wig was found on the side of the road as it was, then she might appear to be quite different without the hairpiece. So that is why it's such a big part of this case, is because it's a fair question to ask. Could CARLEE Russell have walked into a diner in Alabama and not been recognized simply because she didn't have her wig on and all the pictures that were being distributed by the media were of her wearing a wig? This comes down to the whole, the Instagram conversation. When your social media pictures, you're usually looking your best. And if for somebody who wears wigs, that's more times than not going to be when you're wearing your wig. So then what does a person look like when they're not wearing a wig? Well, social media isn't the best place to go to sometimes because people try to keep up appearances and look their best, especially on a social media platform such as Instagram. No mugshot posted yet that I have seen. Hey, mods, help me out. If we see any, mugshot come in, I'm live streaming here, but try to get my attention if you can. And let's just do a refresh here. Also, sometimes, what I will say is that sometimes a mugshot is part of a press release. And before it's posted to the jail website. So if a piece of paper was handed out at the Hoover Police Department and it had a thumbnail of the mugshot, that it doesn't often happen that way. It's very rare that it happens that way, but I've seen it happen that way, is what I'm trying to say. All right, some other comments. This is all about your reaction here, folks, and answering your questions and comments. Again, all fact-based, interactive journalism here in the WFLA Now Stream Center. Oh, my. All right, look, we were talking about... Phil asks, do you think that she did this because Gabby Petito got a lot of attention? We don't know why CARLEE Russell did this. Again, she has admitted to it through a statement to her attorney. But without a doubt, we find ourselves here in the United States really talking about missing persons cases, maybe more than ever. A lot of it comes down to social media because people can band together, and our live streams are a perfect example of that. If social media can be used as a tool to help in missing person situations, of course we're going to use it. Of course we're going to spread the word. But sometimes missing person cases just reach a stratosphere that it just becomes the story that everyone's talking about because people want answers to the unanswered questions. It happened with Gabby Petito. It happened, of course, with Cassie Carley, not to be mixed up with CARLEE Russell. It happened with other missing persons cases. My goodness, the Harmony Montgomery, who was missing for a little girl missing for 2 years before anyone knew about it. So missing persons cases sometimes reach a level where it goes beyond a local news market. It goes beyond the city or state level, and people across the country or around the world are talking about it. That happened with Gabby Petito, and it happened with CARLEE Russell. The difference is that one was genuinely missing, and the other admitted that it was all made up. But as we compare a missing white girl to a missing black girl, one should not just, it has nothing to, look, it's very important that we keep an open mind to missing persons cases. As the Alabama Police Department said, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of background, there are so many factors that come into play. But the reason that Gabby Petito got this is as someone who covered that story, maybe more, just about as much as any reporter out there, the reason that the Gabby Petito story got so much coverage is because there was this massive unanswered question as to Gabby's whereabouts, and whether or not she was alive. And it applied to CARLEE Russell here as well. Massive unanswered questions. What happened to CARLEE? How did she vanish? Who abducted her? We now know the abduction never took place, but who abducted her? And what happened to the toddler? When an unanswered question can really stick in someone's mind, and you might see it on Facebook, or you might see it on YouTube, you might see it on Twitter or Instagram, your social media platform of choice. But then you'll find yourselves later that question will still stick in your head. What happened to Gabby Petito on that cross-country road trip? What happened to CARLEE Russell on the side of Interstate 459? But again, it comes back to a lot of this. It should not come down to race, gender, or if a missing person is a missing person. And hopefully we can spread missing persons cases. But to tell you the truth, here on this live stream, we can't get to them all. It's overwhelming. Just in the state of Florida, thousands upon thousands of missing persons cases and thousands upon thousands of families that don't have answers. Multiply that by 50 states, and you have all of these missing people that we just don't have those same answers. And so I can only express hope as a reporter and as a human being that missing persons cases get treated equally. But sometimes those unanswered questions stick in someone's mind, and before you know it, those cases just elevate to a level that people are sharing them more and distributing them more. And that happened with Gabby Petito, that happened with CARLEE Russell, that happened with Cassie Carley, Harmony Montgomery, and many others. And then we've covered cases on live stream that don't get the same amount of attention. Talking about, Tanya Whip here in the Tampa Bay area. Google her name, share her name out. I've tried to, Justin Shecker's done some great reporting here at WFLA for us. But there are a lot of missing persons cases that don't get the Gabby Petito, CARLEE Russell level of attention. And to see what happened with CARLEE Russell and to think of all the families that did not get that level of exposure when it might have helped is, my goodness, it makes your heart sink. Yeah. But did CARLEE Russell do this for fame? Social media attention? Only CARLEE Russell really knows. Still no mugshot, right? Checking here. God, I can't get used to Twitter being X. I just can't. Sorry, Elon. That's going to take a long time for me to just say I'm going to x.com to search for stuff. Just weird. And kind of confusing, to tell you the truth. Head-scratching decision. But again, we really hope that more missing persons, let me make this clear, the real missing persons cases, regardless of your wealth, your race, your gender, your education, doesn't matter. Regardless of all those facts, a missing person is a missing person. Think of all those families when someone just completely vanishes. The real missing persons cases deserve attention. And let this be a call for people out there to not get discouraged by one incident where we have somebody who's not telling the truth. There are other missing persons cases out there that require our attention. And that's why in the last week I've tried to retweet as many as I could, sharing them out on social media platforms, trying to get the word out. There are a few that people who are mothers, brothers, sisters who are just hashtagging CARLEE Russell just to say, hey, can we look at a real missing persons case? Can you imagine being that person and feeling hopeless watching all of the CARLEE Russell attention and not getting attention for your missing loved one? All right, back to your comments. Thank you, Team Brittany. One of our moderators just let me know that we have not yet found, the mugshot just hasn't been posted. And again, why is the mugshot a big deal? The mugshot's a big deal because we've been talking about CARLEE Russell for weeks, and this is the first time we're going to see her. All the images, everything that we have is just from her social media, really, or her family. We haven't seen her since this all began. This mugshot is going to be the first documented photograph released to the public since this all happened. All right, other comments, questions? Kathy says, any chance that it was exactly the opposite? Meaning that she did not expect all this attention and it was supposed to be for another reason? That's up for you that's up for you guys to decide. Again, the only person who knows why they went forward with this plan to deceive law enforcement, the only person who can say that is CARLEE Russell or someone that she has spoken to in confidence. But that's up for you guys. I take Kathy's question here. It's not for me to answer. My opinion on a question like this is irrelevant. It's about your opinions. It's about your reaction to a question like this. But I think it's fair. It's a fair question to ask, and so we put it up here on screen. Other comments that I'm reading here in the Stream Center. Look, Joyce with a really good question. This is a great question because it's simple, but sometimes simple questions are just great to put up on screen. She asks, how serious are the charges? They're misdemeanors. They're not felonies. They're, in the grand scheme of things, they're not the most serious charges. They are they're in a lower tier as far as the charges that we talk about here on live streams with other missing persons cases or just other stories. They're misdemeanor charges. Yeah, they're Class A misdemeanors, but still, they're misdemeanors. So the maximum, absolute max, 1 year behind bars. And you can bet your bottom dollar that a lot of cases with similar charges will, whether even with a conviction or a deal being reached, you can imagine that a judge is going to look at the possibility of avoiding jail time and exploring the opportunity for probation or community service or a fine. But again, this is a question really for you guys. But really, do you think that they were serious enough? That's really more of a question for you. But again, back to what I was talking about earlier with the chief saying that they're going to talk to the legislature about potentially changing Alabama law so this never happens again. That is a big sign to the public, basically saying we would like to charge her with something stronger, something more significant, but we can't because we have to follow the law. There isn't. We looked at the options and really we didn't have many. We had to go with these charges because, look, you have to file charges that you think are going to lead to convictions. So you have to file charges that are the right charges. And sometimes states don't have necessary. Every state can be different. And sometimes states don't have the appropriate charge for the appropriate crime. In this case, you heard the chief basically indicate we want to work with the legislature to change the law so that this never happens again and so that we can charge appropriately. It's a huge part of this press conference as far as future cases. You know what? 20-second water break. Thank you. As far as the money, well, I can speak in regards to the Crime Stoppers money. It sounds as if, look, the future remains unclear as to what's going to happen with that money. But we have an article on WFLA.com written by our own Casey Sloan. And it reads as follows: reward money raised in CARLEE Russell case will not be refunded unless donors ask. So I'll read this here. When Alabama woman CARLEE Russell vanished after she reported seeing a child walking alongside the highway last week, donations began to pour in to assist her in her safe recovery. Crime Stoppers of Metro Alabama raised more than $63,000 in reward money to help find Russell before the 25-year-old returned home shortly after she went missing. Again, the number about $63,000. The executive director of the organization said that some of the donations have already been returned. One of them was for $25,000 and another $20,000 from an anonymous donor. And then hours later, the organization reversed its statement, telling the news outlet that the remaining money would not be returned to donors. So a lot of uncertainty there still, and hopefully we get to the bottom of exactly when and how and what will happen to all that money. I don't even really think the amount matters all that much. For a lot of people, I'm sure it's principle. If you put in $20 to help, look, it's $20. You don't want that to be for the investigation that was for something that was completely made up, right? People who might have donated $5 might be like, I want my $5 back. There are people who are going to have that reaction because of, again, the emotional response to this story. Patty, you and I, great minds think alike. Yeah, Peter, I've reached out to Peter. Peter Tragos, lawyer, you know. I wanted him on stream today. Today's a perfect day for Peter to lend his expertise to us. We talk about Peter and his channel, and then he provides us with expertise. Peter is, again, Peter Tragos, lawyer, you know. He's a Clearwater attorney right here in the Tampa Bay area, and he comes on live stream with us here and there to provide his expertise and talk about, give a legal analyst perspective on a particular case. And he actually still might pop on. But as of right now, he's not in our Zoom room. Kathleen, I don't have to read this comment, but I'll put it up on screen and just saying thank you. We try to advocate for missing persons on the stream. We try to do it on social media where you can share the news. And we hope to do more missing persons cases in the future. What we do here on WFLA now is very unique as far as the news industry goes. You don't see a lot of news stations doing this, and so one day I'll share a bit of a behind the scenes as to what it took to be able to do these sorts of live streams with you, and do it on places that are free platforms like Facebook and YouTube. I hope to be able to share that with you in the future. But more importantly, what really matters is I hope to be able to do more missing persons cases in the future. I'd like to do so many. I'd like to do one a day or one a week. I really would. But you don't, without getting into the particulars, you can't, we're still trying to do a lot of special things here at WFLA, and we hope to do more of them in the future is the way that I can say it without raising any eyebrows. Gabby says, #KJB, do you think they will make her tell them where she was for the 49 hours? You can't make anyone tell you anything. But I will say this. If you are extending a plea deal, and this is really a question for somebody who has worked as a public defender or as a prosecutor in a insert district attorney's office here. But if you are developing a level of cooperation with someone that you have filed charges against, and you're hoping to develop an avenue where you feel as if the person is being properly, held accountable for their crimes, while also avoiding having to go to trial and waste more resources. Let's point that out. This goes to a trial of some kind. If this goes to court, it's just more money being spent on something that never should have began in the first place, right? There's going to be a lot of people out there who say, plea deal is probably best for everybody. Do we really want? How much more money do we want to throw at this, right? So if a deal is potentially reached, if a deal is even on the table, you're hoping that there's some level of cooperation between the suspect being charged, and between the DA's office. And during that level of cooperation, you would hope that that person opens up and gives you more information. And one of the first questions, Gabby, that I think would be asked to CARLEE Russell if you're in the DA's office is going to be, CARLEE, where'd you go? We were looking for you everywhere. Where were you? How did you elude us? And you were just walking down your parents' block and you just wound up at your parents' house on foot? How? How did you do that? I think that would be the DA's or an assistant DA's first question, because it's the question that we have. It's the question everybody wants to know. But again, will even a plea deal be part of the equation here? Will there be something reached between both sides? A really good question. Again, Peter would be able to provide some perspective, or any legal analyst. Yeah, the next question might be, why? Living the dream brings up a good point. So again, let's just put on that hat for a second. I'm the DA, or the assistant DA. I've got CARLEE Russell here, and we're talking about just maybe a deal, right? To avoid having this to waste more taxpayer money. Maybe the first question is, why do you do this? Maybe that's the first question. Maybe question number one is, CARLEE, why'd you do it? Just level with us. Why would you? Was there something going on at home? Was there? Was it for fun? Were you bored? What was it for? Social media fame? What were you hoping to achieve? Why would you deceive us? Why would you deceive law enforcement and break the law with something like this? And also bring a toddler into the equation and have us worried about a toddler roaming around in the wooded area next to the interstate all night. That would probably be a first question. And then the second question would be, where'd you go? Where were you as we looked for you? And really that second question is a bit of a loaded one, because did CARLEE stay with somebody? Was she camping out in the woods, or was she really by herself? Now, she claimed in her statement that she acted alone, but investigators are going to want to know, hey, did somebody help you? Because we need to get this settled once and for all, and we want to put this in the rearview mirror. There are other cases that require our attention. We don't want to be talking about this for months or years. We just want the truth once and for all. Help us. What happened? And maybe they'll then find out. Maybe question number 3 from an assistant DA would be, did you have help? Did somebody help you? All right. So, look at that. People are saying there's a picture of CARLEE. Again, twitter.com, not x.com. Oh my. Hold on, folks. I have to retweet this. Stand by. Okay, there it is. Tweet, and we're going to bring it up here on screen. There it is. CARLEE Russell's mugshot released. Smiling. And what appears to be people who, again, were asking about her hair. I'm no hair expert. I'll let you guys hop in here with comments. Don't want to misspeak. But CARLEE Russell smiling in her mugshot, which to some people will be, nothing. You look into a camera, you're asked to pose for a mugshot. Some people have just the natural reaction to smile. We've seen smiles in a lot of mugshots. Some people are going to be who are going to really focus on the fact that she is smiling, no doubt. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it up here, full res. So let's save this. Welcome to live streaming, folks. We're going to load it, or fancy news word would be ingest it. And it's right there. And then we can put away this tweet by clicking on that button. And then we come out and voila. The very first picture of CARLEE Russell since she admitted to deceiving law enforcement by making up the story that she saw a toddler on the side of I-459 and then followed by vanishing for 49 hours as well. This is the first picture that we are seeing of her after turning herself in on 2 misdemeanor charges. She is out on bail. And again, questions persist. In the end, it's really up to you if the questions are how relevant they are at this stage. It's up to each one of you to determine for yourselves why she did it. Does it matter to you? Some people are going to say, I don't care. And you can't fault anyone for feeling that way. Some people are going to say, I don't care about why she did it. She did it, and we need to be talking about other missing persons cases. There are going to be people that are going to feel that way. There are going to be people who are going to say, I don't care where she was for 49 hours. Woods in a closet, of a gas station somewhere or something like that, wherever she was. Now, it could be a completely different ballgame if she was, if she was staying with somebody, but because then you're talking about additional criminal implication. But here's her mugshot. She has been formally charged, and now the legal process will play out in Alabama. But as the legal process plays out, we'll find out, I'm sure, whether or not she's going to face jail time, whether a deal will be reached, and whether or not she'll plead guilty or not guilty. All of that, that is standard at this stage with this kind of a story. What isn't standard, what is perhaps that much more interesting and should be interesting to you, our audience, is again the potential for Alabama law to be changed because of CARLEE Russell to ensure that this never happens in the future, or that if it does happen in the future, that law enforcement agencies feel and district attorneys' offices feel that they have a better avenue to appropriately charge the person with the crime that they are accused of committing. Yeah, lots of. I think the number one comment that I have seen on this stream is holy expletive. She's smiling. I'm part of my job as an interactive journalist is to be a reflection of you in our comment section, what you're actually saying out there. I'm telling you, looking at your comments here in the stream center, and all I'm seeing is OM letter G. She's smiling. But again, we've had mugshots in the past where smiling is just the natural reaction when somebody poses for a photograph. Now, in this case, it's a mugshot. But the people are also making notes about her hair. And that's up for you. You guys will, you don't need me adding in to the social media chatter about her appearance here. There's going to be enough of that on social media. But again, this is the first picture that we've had of her since this all happened. And yes, she's smiling. And that will, and look, I can ask everybody if you'd like what that means to you that she's smiling in her mugshot. We're going to probably do another 10 minutes tops, maybe 15-ish on stream. We're about to wrap this up in a little bit, but hold on, you guys. Look, I still have a job to do, and my bosses are expecting me to put this out on Facebook too. So everyone just kind of type in your comments. We're going to read your comments here in a second, but in the meantime, I just would like to put this out on Facebook for people there. So let's put this image in a Facebook post. And yes, people on YouTube, I know what you're thinking. And yes, people still do use Facebook. Facebook is still a thing for a lot of people. It is the platform of choice for many. All right, so now that Facebook post is done, we're going to leave this up on screen. And again, call for your hashtag KJB questions or comments. One more time, if you're just joining us, if you use hashtag KJB, we can animate your comments on screen. If you don't want your comment to be spotlighted for our relatively large audience here today, you just don't feel comfortable with it, just don't use the hashtag and we'll let your comment continue to scroll on by. I still read your comments without the hashtag, without HeyJB, but I don't click on them because I don't want to spotlight your comment if you don't want it to be spotlighted. So let's look. Yeah, some of these comments are just, yeah, I can't put these on screen. But look, CL LeBron says, "Hey JB, shake my head, no remorse." That's the opinion of one of our commenters. And remember, let me hold on. I'm seeing your comments now. Let me make this clear. All right, this isn't about somebody who we don't know if CARLEE Russell intended to seek fame or her name or her image being out there. We don't know what her intent was. This isn't about spreading someone's picture because of, reasons that it's about accountability. Okay. This might not look like your standard mugshot. Sometimes mugshots will have a different background or you'll clearly see what CL LeBron noted there as remorse. Sometimes you'll see this might look like a standard sort of photo. Might actually look more like a high school class photo than a mugshot. It's still a mugshot. This is part of the process as far as a person being held accountable. You are, a warrant is obtained for your arrest. You are arrested. You face charges. You are booked and processed. And part of that process is having your mugshot taken, and that mugshot then becomes public record, and we are sharing that here on our live stream. It's about accountability. And I want to make that clear as we're here on stream for another few minutes. Well, look, Tina on YouTube Live, CL LeBron's on Facebook Live, Tina on YouTube Live. People are saying the same thing regardless of platform. People are saying no remorse. That's one of the top comments I am seeing. 2 misdemeanors, Maureen. I don't have the exact, I was writing as quickly as I could, but it's in relation to false reporting of an incident to police. So, Ms. Smith, hey, JB, are you going to cover Alicia Watts? Yeah, missing since July 16th. I hope to cover more missing persons cases, but a lot of that, how do I say this? A lot of that, everyone thinks that I have just this free reign to do any stories that I want to do or to stream for as long as I want to do. There's a lot of moving parts at a news organization, okay? And so I would love to cover more missing persons cases, regardless of background, regardless of gender, the ones that really need our help out there. But that a lot of times the decision comes down to more than just what I want to do. That's a news organization has a lot of moving parts and a lot of news to cover. And so if you want me to focus on something, you have to have your voice heard. And what I do is I point you in the right direction. So if you want your voice to be heard, you send it to the news powers that be, so to speak, by sending it to news@WFLA.com. Moderators help me out. If you're on Facebook Live or YouTube Live, you want a story to get covered, and you want me to cover it specifically, or if you want it to be covered on WFLA Now, you just send it to news@WFLA.com. And if you're trying to get a hold of me directly, you can send it to HeyJB, an email to HeyJB@WFLA.com. Another 5 or 10 minutes before we got to wrap up here, folks. Mindy on YouTube Live says, I feel like she is not taking this as serious as it is. That's the opinion of one of our commenters. Amanda, #HeyJB, any word from the family? Not really. Not since really, I think Priscilla Thompson with NBC News did that last interview. We haven't seen much since. Other comments, questions? Let's see here. Amy, I'm just going to put this up because it got me to chuckle. But I understand where your head's at with this comment. Amy Parker says, hey, JB, you do an amazing job. I love all your coverage. But honestly, I cannot wait to not hear about this girl again. I think a lot of people are going to agree with you, Amy, because there are so many other cases that require our attention. Linda on Facebook Live saying, hey, JB, she loves the attention. I think people are seeing this as a crime where somebody was seeking attention. This is just, again, your reaction, again, the public social media reaction that you're providing to us here on stream. Shanikia Young, #HeyJB, can her charges be upgraded? Wow. It sounds as if the DA's office, Shanikia, they put a lot of thought into the charges based on what we heard at the press conference, because they explored a lot of different options here. And it sounds as if this is if new information comes to light, I'm sure that charges can be added or upgraded. Things can be modified. The legal process will be likely quite fluid. But, and look, more information is still to be learned in this investigation. But it sounds as if this was the most efficient and the most serious charges that could have been filed in regards to what CARLEE did, based on what we're getting from that press conference in Alabama. Jade says she looks happy. Do people think that she looks happy? Not for me to answer. Jade is asking, kind of with a hesitation there. She looks happy? I gave my opinion earlier for what it's worth. And I'm not going to say whether or not she looks happy, but it is a mugshot that doesn't look like many mugshots that we see. I'm getting more high school, class photos than mugshot, really, to tell you the truth. We don't see there's usually a height indicator. Sometimes with certain law enforcement agencies or certain jails, you'll have something that indicates height lines. And it'll say, oh, okay, so this person is, 5'6". Okay. And also, too, let me just point this out. Mugshots are often awful as far as quality goes. This is a really high-quality mugshot. Some cameras in various jails across the United States, they're like 15 years old. And they are just really low res or low quality, or they're like 200 by 400 pixels. They're just awful. Jefferson County's got a good camera as far as mugshots go. This is as high res of a mugshot as I've seen in a very long time. Maybe that's why I'm getting high school class photo vibes from this picture. Jessica, still no word about where she was all that time? Nope. Still no word as to what happened to CARLEE Russell and where she went. Robin James, do you think she'll ever speak publicly? We talked about this on the last stream, but I can't really answer this question. Only she knows, and only her family knows. One question that is, I think, really fair to ask that has come up on previous live streams that we've done on this story. People asking is, are they going to stay in Alabama? The family. Your reputations can really stay with you. And so people have been wondering if the Russell family will look for a fresh start. We don't have any information on that, by the way. That is just people out there on social media wondering to escape what has transpired. Are people going to will the family move? Not sure. 2 or 3 more, and then we got to run. A lot of comments about her hair. Marvita, as far as updating of the law in Alabama, they would never do that. As far as renaming the law after her, you rename a law to honor somebody. It's not about something that went wrong. It's about remembering someone, and an Amber Alert. Yeah, these are. They would never rename it. In fact, you would be hard-pressed to find, if there was a bill introduced in the Alabama state legislature, you'd be hard-pressed to find her name in there, because it would be part of the record for forever. And it's not about identifying by somebody by name. It's just about updating the law so it never happens again. So I don't think that a law would ever be named after her, even if it was called, the hoax law. It's just not something you ever really see. Cheryl, with one word, really. Cheryl says it's a smug shot. That's one of our commenters' opinions. I don't see any people who have anything. When I tell you that these comments, by the way, like this one, these are the nice comments that I'm seeing. There are other comments in our comment section that are, no, I would never put up on stream, to tell you the truth. Yeah. And again, Miss D, appalled, flabbergasted with a smile, no remorse. Folks, that's going to do it for us here at WFLA Now. The CARLEE Russell story reaching the part now where we'll, of course, monitor the future developments. But like I said earlier in the week, we're kind of approaching the live streaming end of this story, if you will. There's other stories, of course, more deserving of our attention. And the reason that we streamed this one here today is because of accountability. Very simply because when somebody admits to an action that can qualify as breaking the law, how does our legal system here in the United States do its own self-correction and making that person, be held responsible, held accountable for their actions? It's about cause and effect. The cause here is that CARLEE Russell made up a story and lied to investigators and deceived her community. And according to the investigators and the DA's office, she broke the law. And charges have been filed. She has been arrested after turning herself in. And so it's about cause, and that's the effect. She is now has to answer to these charges. And we'll pay close attention, of course, to how this all plays out in the future. I don't know if we will ever stream on this story again. But that's where you come in. We pay very close attention to what stories you think are deserving of what we do here in the Stream Center as far as interactive journalism. What stories do you think we should be focusing on? Your feedback, this is what we do in the Stream Center as far as interactive journalism is a very forward-thinking thing that we do here at WFLA. And it only works if we get feedback from you, our audience. What stories would you like to see? If you have a story suggestion, or if you have feedback that you want to go sort of the newsrooms that way, and all the news managers that really operate our station, they're all located in that direction. If you want to reach them and make your voice heard in that capacity, send an email to news@wfla.com. If you'd like to reach me directly, I check my emails all the time. I do my very best to, at least, over the course of a very busy news day. You can send emails to me directly at heyjb@wfla.com. So again, one more time, if you want to send it to the news station, news@wfla.com. If you want to send it to me, heyjb@wfla.com. There's more on this story on wfla.com pertaining to all the money that was raised, the goodwill money that was put forth. You can click on the link in the description on this video to find out more about what's going to happen with that money, the latest that we have on that component to the story. Again, it's in the pinned comment below, as well as in the description on this video. And a big thank you to our YouTube moderators for helping keep our comment section kind, respectful, welcoming to all. We'll continue, of course, to report on missing persons cases in the future and do our very best here to use interactive journalism for good. Thanks so much for joining us here on WFLA Now. I'm JB Biunno. We'll see you next time here from the Stream Center. And again, happy Friday, folks.